Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. How are you guys doing? My name is Kosi. There is a player I thought we need to talk about, and that is Phillipe Coutinho. I didn't talk about him in depth in the summer, but there is a story that has actually popped up, and it's written on football.london. You can check out their website. They always write for Arsenal content and Chelsea and all clubs around London, but they have written an interesting piece of story about Phillipe Coutinho, and they're saying he would be, or he could actually be available for around 35 million pounds in the summer. I don't know whether you have seen that story. He's been linked with Chelsea, Arsenal, and a couple of other clubs. I don't remember whether United is part of them, but okay, my interest is in Arsenal as a club. I want to digest how Phillipe Coutinho would work at Arsenal, whether I want him or I do not want him. I have put out a poll on YouTube, and you guys are actually answering it very, very surprisingly. It shows, the feedback there shows that you do not actually want Phillipe Coutinho near Arsenal, because I asked who should be the next number 10 at Arsenal. 60% is voting for Martin Odegaard, and then 20%, is it about 20%? Actually, 70% are voting for Martin Odegaard, 20% are voting for Jack Grealish, and then you have the you have around 10%, or actually around 13% voting for Mikel Oyarzabal, and then the rest, around 6 or 7%, is voting for Phillipe Coutinho. So for me, that shows me how you people do not actually want Phillipe Coutinho, and we are on the same page. He is a good player, by the way. Like, he is a phenomenal talent. I think he's one of those players that are really, really unlucky not to have blown up in football. He should have been one of those players, fighting to get the Ballon d'Ors, running. I think he's that kind of player. That was his talent, but he just not got there. He just didn't get to that level. And if you ask me the reason, I don't know why, because leaving Liverpool for Barcelona, I thought that was the right move. A lot of money. He goes to Barcelona, and things don't work out for him. And for me, the reason as to why he never worked out at Barcelona is, I don't know, because I thought he was going to be that perfect player at Barcelona where, you have players like Messi, you have players, of his caliber, and it's just going to fit in there, just help to make Barcelona better and improve as a player. But, it was the opposite, exact opposite. He goes out, on loan to Bayern, then he performs again well, but then he comes back to Barcelona, and things actually do not actually work out for him. So my opinion about Phillipe Coutinho is 35 million pounds right now for a player in his late 20s is still too much. Too much. 35 million pounds, Arsenal, if we are trying to change our transfer policy like we did in the January transfer window, we need to be very cautious about such deals. Yeah, and one of the problems you have about Phillipe Coutinho is his agent. His agent, Kia Jarabchin, one of those agents that really have a lot of influence on the on the Arsenal transfers. Of course, now that we have Brazilian Edu, and Kia Jarabchin is Brazilian, and has he has those Brazilian agents. He's always going to sign them up at the clubs where he has influence, and I think we need to fight this. Phillipe Coutinho doesn't need to come near Arsenal. But I also want to discuss further what we would get from Phillipe Coutinho, because, like I said, he's a phenomenal talent. He's an outstanding talent. He's one of those players that would join Arsenal, and you feel he's going to have a great impact. So if you look at his statistics down here, I think we will be able to see them better here. This is per 90 minutes. His pass completion stands at 99%. That is 85.5% per 90. Passes attempted 70.76. That is 99% again. Progressive ball carries, he stands at 11.83. Pressure stands at 9.62. Progressive passes recorded stands at 8.72. Progressive passes, progressive passes expected. Then he stands at 6.21. Touches in the penalty area, 6.21. Shots in total per 90, that is 4.11. And then shot creating actions, he stands at 3.41. So if you look at those statistics, then it brings out the fact what I've been talking about, that he is a phenomenal player. He is a phenomenal talent. He is a world-class talent. He's that kind of player that you think if Arsenal actually got, we would be somewhere. But for me, my problem is you're not going to use him for long. That's the first thing. He doesn't have a resale value, and he is old and expensive. But if we look at this, if we just look at the tactical board of what Phillipe Coutinho could actually provide us with Arsenal, this is where it gets even more interesting, because first and foremost, for Mikel Arteta, a manager who wants to play pressing football in styles like 3-4-3, 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1, and 4-1-4-1, styles like that, you need a player like Phillipe Coutinho. Definitely, he's not going to be playing as a number 10, but first and foremost, if you're playing a 4-3-3, he can play among you can either play him among the first three group of midfielders, where you could have Smith Rowe, Partey, and Coutinho. You have Coutinho, Xhaka, and Partey. Or you could actually play him among the last three, either as a winger or as a false nine. And I think the Pep Guardiola kind of setting would actually work very well for a player like Phillipe Coutinho, because we've seen him the whole season play football without a renowned number 9, and he's been scoring the goals. He's been getting the goals from the midfielders, from the false nines. Mahrez playing as a false nine at times, and at times you have has Kevin De Bruyne played as a false nine? I don't remember, but I think Sterling has played as a false nine as well, and Bernardo Silva has also played as a false nine as well as Phil Foden. But apart from that, by the way, if you don't want to play 4-3-3 and you want to play a 4-2-3-1, and this is what I would like about a player like Phillipe Coutinho, is if you want to play a 4-2-3-1, you could actually use him in the deep midfield as a number 8 with Thomas Partey. That means you have 3 players. Of course, that means you're inviting a number 10 there, who would be in this case Smith Rowe, not so. And then you have a striker who would be Gabi Martinelli or Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang for that case. So you see, he fits very well in a 4-3-3. Again, he fits very well in a 4-2-3-1. He can play, he can play for you just the way you want it, as a number 8. And of course, the good thing is he's very good at passing. I don't know whether it's because he's Brazilian or he's just talented, but it's very good at passing. He's gonna pass that whole field the way you want it, and it's just going to decorate it with with nice passes. His passing accuracy is just there in the over the moon. And then the other thing is progressive ball carries. If you still remember, we've been looking at his statistics, and he has progressive ball carries expected at 6.51. What that gives you from a player like Phillipe Coutinho is so easy to understand. You have a player actually now driving this ball through these lanes in the midfield, like this, and so that means you have a player always driving the ball into dangerous areas. Now that is one thing Arsenal do not have, and we've been trying to seek it in players like Martin Odegaard, Bukayo Saka, and Emile Smith Rowe, and for me, that is one of the most strong, or that's one of the strongest attributes Phillipe Coutinho has: the ability to move that ball into advanced positions with a lot of ease. Of course, that means he becomes a game controller, first and foremost. But the other thing is he becomes a game manager. And you need a player. If Odegaard doesn't sign back, you need a game manager. Partey is not a game manager. He's not a game controller. He could, control some parts and aspects of the game. But if you want a player who can control the whole game, the rhythm, that is Odegaard. That is Phillipe Coutinho. And the biggest question is if he signed for Arsenal, how would we line up, and what would be his best position? Where would we want to see him? First and foremost, as a person, I don't want Bukayo Saka to drop. I don't want Emile Smith Rowe to drop from the starting lineup next season, unless if we sign phenomenal talent, which is not going to happen in the summer for Arsenal. So what I want is, if we sign Phillipe Coutinho, what I actually want is let him play in the pivot with Thomas Partey, because this would be so perfect. I just imagine if you still remember him at Liverpool, he was playing in a more advanced position, like ahead of Jadon Henderson, where you would have Roberto Firmino for now. That's where you would put Phillipe Coutinho in that Liverpool squad, or where you would have a Diogo Jota, not Diego. But at Arsenal, in the advanced positions where you don't want to drop Emile Smith Rowe for that case, because you want him to continue giving you those runs going forward. You can't drop Saka because what he gives you from the right hand side, and his goal contribution is just phenomenal as well. You have a Pepe coming on. He's 26 years of age. This is the right time you have to use Pepe. So I don't think you're going to drop Pepe as well. If Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang comes back to his goal scoring abilities, which I think he might come back to them in the next season, then you need to actually make him your number one striker, so that he actually gets these balls in, so you can score the goals. So you could see how Arsenal could set up in the front areas. So our problem now would be who plays with Thomas Partey, and of course I was asked the question to do a video about who would be the perfect partner for Thomas Partey, and I'll drop that tomorrow morning or in the afternoon. What I think is, if you play the player of Phillipe Coutinho's caliber in this area, it means two things. One, you have almost six now, or around 6 or 7 players contributing to the attack, because Coutinho is more of an attacking minded player. Then the other thing, his goal creating actions, which are very, very much, and we need them from far deep in the midfield. So he would be helping the likes of Saka, Smith Rowe, and Pepe in goal creation and goal scoring. He's also a very, very good player when it comes to shooting on goal and scoring from outside the box. Arsenal will benefit from that as well. The only problem here is don't mind Emerson. This is just my my sketchboard. But the only problem with Phillipe Coutinho playing with Thomas Partey is he's a defensive liability. That's the only problem you have with him. He's a defensive liability, and there you have problems, because if you're playing, if at one point in time Emerson and Tierney go in front, and then Saliba and Gabriel are also very adventurous, you'd only have Thomas Partey, who is adventurous as well. So it's highly likely that we'll be playing a high line, which I do not trust Arsenal to play a high line, especially being the fact that we have young players like Saliba, Gabriel, and Rob Holding in the defense. They don't have much of experience. Yeah, but I think that's what I think about Phillipe Coutinho. He is not a player I would invite to be playing at Arsenal, but he's not a player I would actually really say he's not anywhere important. He is important, but financially and economic wise, I don't think he is there. I don't think he fits the expectations of Arsenal. That is my video about Phillipe Coutinho. It's not an episode of sensible transfers. I just wanted to talk about Phillipe Coutinho. Like I just want to talk about Grealish. I feel I need to talk about Grealish, and I'll talk about him because he's one player that is so phenomenal. I would love him to join Arsenal. I know the chances are very, very slim, but I'll talk about him and how we would actually benefit from such a signature. Then I would also talk about players like Harvey Barnes. Of course, Harvey Barnes for me will come in the sensible Arsenal transfer session. I won't talk about players like Madison, but I'll talk about Harvey Barnes. I think he would be another great addition to that Arsenal side. For now, I sign out.